What's happening, everybody? Oh man, what a game! What a game! What a game! You love to see it, man. You really do. You really do. I'm really excited and happy that the Knicks came out and did what they needed to do, man. This is what we expect from this team. This is not just same old Knicks, people. And you know, Philadelphia has had our number for quite some time. It's about time that we went, and took it to them. Yeah, of course it's in the Garden, but that's okay because they've been beating us in the Garden or in Philadelphia. It doesn't matter where we're at. You know what? And another thing that was really good too is the fact that there was questionable guys. We had Embiid questionable, which I was actually really surprised about Embiid being there to begin with. But Joel Embiid was questionable. Andre Drummond was questionable. And then you're thinking, oh, man, Knicks might really have a chance to win this game. But if they do, is it cheapened a little bit? So I don't know. All in all, it turned out well. Both those guys played. They had a really good team out there as far as players. So you know what, the Knicks had a battle on their hands, and it was about them stepping up and doing what they needed to do in order to secure the victory. And they secured the victory, ladies and gentlemen, and that is all that matters. So the final score of the game was 112-99. We pulled it out in I guess you would say convincing fashion. It was a little bit of a struggle, at certain points because you had the Quickly lineup of Quickly, Rose, Taj, Burks, and who was that other person? That other gentleman that was out there at the time. It was Quickly, Rose, Taj, Burks, and now I can't remember. Was it Obi? Could have been Obi. It could have been Obi. Yeah, it was Obi. But the way that offense was moving, it didn't look that great. And the Knicks could have wound up squandering the lead, but surprisingly enough, it didn't go too left, that fast because Thibodeau was working with them and he gave them, some time to be out there and do their thing rather than just doing the quick yank, because that would have definitely destroyed the morale. And then maybe you get yourself in a situation in another game where you got that same unit out there, and because you already know that Tibbs yanked you as soon as you did something wrong, you don't believe in yourself, you don't produce right. So I think it was good that Tibbs kind of stood with that lineup at certain spells, even if Philadelphia was starting to get back into the game. But this game was, it started off not too bad for the Knicks. R.J. Barrett came out hot, got a couple threes, and he was the leading scorer for the Knicks at one point. He had 8 points, and you started to think, hey, maybe this is one of them special nights for RJ because he hasn't had one this season as of yet. But sadly enough, that wasn't the case. Excuse me. He basically kind of, I don't know if he got caught up in what everybody else was doing, but he wound up finishing with 10 points after starting in the first quarter with 8. I don't know, man. I don't know. Look, RJ's my man, and I still think that he can have an all-star season, but he ain't gonna have an all-star season if he doesn't do, the fundamental things to kind of get his game going and solidify what he's doing out there on the court offensively. Defensively, he's made great strides. He's definitely showed that he's willing to take on the best player. That doesn't mean he's necessarily given the best player by Tibbs, but he's willing to do it. And it's just one of those things where I don't know what it is about him right now. Maybe it's the early season thing that he was pointing to, because apparently, he's mentioned that every season he starts off slow, which is true. But just because it's, something you're used to doesn't mean it needs to be that way. You don't have to start off slow every season. You could say, you know what, I usually start off slow, so let me do something a little different this time around, right? But whatever. I mean, listen, that's how things are working right now for RJ, and we just kind of got to go with the momentum, the way it's flowing. Um, but I would really like him to start making some changes on that end, and doing something to affect the game. Get to the line, try to draw some fouls, draw some contact, but do it in a forceful way. It doesn't look like you're just going up and trying to draw the contact without actually finishing. You got to try to finish, and we know that RJ doesn't play above the rim like some of these other guys in the league. So he's really got to work at that. I mean, James Harden doesn't play above the rim anymore, yet he draws fouls, like it's going out of style. It's easy for him. I don't know. I guess it's just a learned skill. Like, you got to keep practicing it to get it, and maybe that's not something he's going to be able to get this year, but maybe next year, like going into next year, like the off season, maybe he'll work with a trainer that's known for helping these NBA players to draw that contact and get to the free throw line. All right, well, that's enough said about RJ. You guys got the idea that you started off hot, but he fizzled quickly. Derrick Rose also had a really Derrick Rose type game. He had 13 points, but he only had one assist and he had 3 rebounds. So, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily what you want to see from your backup point guard. And don't get me wrong, I love Derrick Rose, and I know he's done a lot for the team, and really he puts up decent numbers every game, and he had a good game last game, but you just want him to do a little bit more on the court as a facilitator, to help continuously moving the ball and all that stuff, but you just want him to do a little bit more, and it didn't seem like he really did too much of that tonight. I am happy that the Knicks finished with 24 assists, though. So I just want to make a note of that. So that's a good thing. Also, I will give Derrick Rose credit. He shot 4 of 7, so he's still shooting well. I think that one of the things that this Knicks team has to learn is that resiliency, that never say die attitude that they kind of had a little bit of last year. They showed it at spurts, and definitely down that stretch before the playoffs. So if they start getting that early, like I expect them to, then that loss that they had to Orlando, things like that will be a thing of the past. It's going to happen, guys. Knicks are not going to go undefeated. We already know that, right? And they're not going to go 81-1. So expect that some more losses is coming. All right, let's just not get too crazy. Things are going to happen. So what I want to focus on right now is the momentum changers, because these are, the players that basically took control of the game, and set us up in a way that we were able to win comfortably. They were key into keeping the ball moving. A lot of us were complaining about that ISO ball. Today wasn't one of those days. ISO ball wasn't happening that much. So I'm glad that we were able to kind of lock in. The 24 assists is a good sign. I wanted a little bit more, maybe 27, 28, but I'm not going to be nitpicking. That's only 4 assists off of what I was expecting. So that's really good. And the ball didn't stick this game. Now, it looked like Julius was trying to do things to help his team and get other people open. So that's good. His shot wasn't really falling right away either, so that might have helped. But he didn't force the issue. So anytime Julius Randle plays that way, the Knicks have a good chance of winning the game. So let's take a look at the momentum changers and see kind of what these guys how they played and what they did to help us get the victory. First one up is Mr. Evan Fournier. Evan is just showing you guys what the Knicks thought he might be when they brought him over here. Yes, we all know the whole thing about his defense. It's still a work in progress. However, he's not horrible defensively, guys. He's actually pretty good. He's pretty decent, I would say. He knows how to stay in front of his man for the most part. He has good defensive principles. His hands are very active. He sticks his hands up in people's faces. He gets to some steals. Excuse me. If you watch some of these games, he's very very much in the passing lanes with his hands. So he does a good job at that. The only knock on him, is that he's not the fastest guy on the court. So he's a little slow-footed. And in today's NBA, there's a lot of good speed guards in the league, and not to mention the young guards that are fast as hell. So he does have some problems dealing with those type of guys, and even some of the small forwards that are pretty quick. But even with all that, he still does a pretty decent job. And offensively tonight, he had 18 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists on 60% shooting from the field, 66.7% from the the 3-point line. Excuse me. And he shot 100% from the free throw line. I think he was 2 of 2 from the free throw line in 32 minutes. And he basically just, it wasn't necessarily so much that he hit the game-changing shot. It's more of the fact that his presence and how he played helped the game move in a certain way. It's just like he just kind of leveled everything out. Usually when the Knicks play, I'm pointing towards Derrick Rose as the stabilizer. And I still, he's usually the stabilizing presence. But for this game, I felt like Evan, took that role. I felt like when he was in the game, things moved a certain way. He had a knack for hitting, the big shots that helped them maintain the lead. He just played a really solid overall game. And if we get games like this from Evan Fournier all year, scoring around 18 points or more, that's all you can ask for. And I don't think there's any Knicks fan out there that would be that upset with watching what he did for us, this evening. So next up is Mr. Julius Randle himself. Now, Julius, like I said, he came out and he looked like he was trying to look for his teammates. He was facilitating. And we've seen this in the past. We just haven't seen too much of it this year so far. And a lot of different people have said that maybe Julius is just trying to, solidify himself in the league and show that he's here, he's arrived, and he's going to be here. So he's not going anywhere. So he was trying to go out there and put up his points and show that he's, sort of a dominant force on the court. But if that's the case, we don't know. It's all speculative right now. But if that's the case, we realize that it worked for a certain period of time. But it didn't work after that, because we ran into the problem with like Orlando, where maybe he held the ball too long or he was looking for a shot too much, and it wound up hurting the Knicks, and they got real stagnant in their offense. They couldn't hit shots. They didn't have good ball movement, so they couldn't get out of the funk. So those are the things, and I'm sure Julius is. Hey, we're fans, right? But he's a player. He watches game tape. He watches the film. He's got a coach that's telling him what they've got, like 6 or 7 coaches on the sidelines. They all know what's going on. And Julius definitely knows that maybe he was doing a little too much ISO ball. So let's give him credit for making adjustments. He definitely, did what he needed to do to kind of get us going the right way. And I apologize. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened. I changed these numbers, yet somehow they reverted back to what they were before. So I'll just go to the NBA site. So Julius wound up finishing with 16 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, and he shot 38.9% from the field, 40% from three, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much it in 36 minutes. So I think he had a pretty good solid overall game. He got most of his points kind of late in the game, I would say, to kind of clean up and make the points look better. But he still had a very solid game, and it was a good contributor. Kimbo Walker. This was the last person I want to really talk about in regards to the momentum changers, because this is what I've been looking for. If you've listened to anything I've said about Kimbo Walker, anywhere that I've said it, I've been hoping for the moment where Kimba gave us around 20 points. We keep seeing him give us 12 points, 11 points. I think that's kind of where he's been. And he's taken, minimal shots. A lot of it's happening in the first quarter, and then he's kind of fizzling out, and we don't really hear from him. And then his defense has kind of been hurting him, so it's been keeping him out of the game, and we've been seeing a little bit more of Derrick Rose. Tonight was a different story. Tonight he played 28 minutes, which is a high number for someone like Kimba when you think about it, but it was good for him to be out there and have some time to be comfortable and get in the flow of the offense and put up some points. And it translated, because we see he finished with 19 points. He had 3 rebounds, 5 assists on 46.7% shooting from the field and 45.5% shooting from the three-point line. He didn't go to the line and shoot any free throws, so there's no percentage there. So, I mean, listen, if we're able to get this type of production from Kimba on a nightly basis, this is another thing that we signed up for. Who could be mad at 19 points and 5 assists from your starting point guard, knowing that you got Derrick Rose coming off the bench who's going to give you similar type numbers? And then you still got like the benefit of having Quickly come off the bench and spell those two or work with those two, and hopefully you're getting points from him as well. So that's all you can really hope from the one spot on the court. Like that's normally Derrick Rose would have about somewhere in between 15 and maybe 18 points, right? So if you add the 15 and 18 points to Kimba's 19, that's almost 40 points. We're talking around 35, 36 points there from your point guard spot. If we get that on a given night, the Knicks will be in great shape to win a lot of basketball games. No matter what's going on, efficiency and good scoring from this basketball team is going to go a long way. Of course, they still got to do what they got to do on the defensive end, but that's going to help them a lot. Now, I don't want to, move on too quickly, but I think in regards to this game, we already see who the momentum changers were. We see that or should I say, we know that Philadelphia has had our number for quite some time, and we've been struggling to deal with them. We know that crazy stat that Ben Simmons, even though he's not here right now, but that crazy stat that Ben Simmons has never lost to the Knicks. Like, what is that? That's nuts. I don't even want. That's the worst stat ever. I don't even want to hear that again. So this game was big for us. And then we also had the Tobias Harris factor. Long Island born. Wanted to be a Knick, and the Knicks passed up on him twice. So every time he comes to play the Knicks, he wants to do his thing and definitely improve and show us what we've been missing out on always. But we were able to kind of keep him at bay as well. So the keys to this victory were the offense doing its thing, moving the ball, Kimba being efficient, being a good part of the offense, scoring 19 points, Fournier giving us 18 points and doing what we would normally expect him to do. Julius even having a not so great game, still finishing with almost a triple-double. RJ got off to a nice little start, but like I said, he fizzled with 10 points, but at least he contributed in some way. Keeping Joel Embiid low, he wasn't much of a factor. Andre Drummond wasn't much of a factor. And Tobias Harris wasn't much of a factor. So those were all big keys to the victory. And the other star of the show that I didn't mention is the Knicks defense. Um, they did a really good job of holding Philadelphia to limited amounts of shots, not a lot of second chance opportunities. They were getting rebounds, and just keeping them from getting a lot of shots off too, but also keeping that percentage low. They didn't shoot well at all. And if you looked at the game and saw how the Knicks, you know, kind of ratcheted up the defense throughout the game, they were swarming. So that's the type of defense that we like to see from the Knicks. That swarming defense, get in your face, rotate quickly. I mean, I don't like all the switching stuff personally. Sometimes I think it's a little too much, but that's Thibodeau's defense, and it works. And there's a reason why the Knicks had the 4th overall defense in the league last year. So who am I to judge? Okay, now we can move on. So, now we got the Chicago Bulls up next on Thursday. And, they've been playing well. We know that they're undefeated. And let's take nothing away from them. Even though they haven't played the greatest competition up until this point. I believe they played Detroit twice. They played the Pelicans, and they beat Toronto, which none of those teams have really been, kind of positioned to go that far. And I don't know how many of them are even like, will the Pelicans make the playoffs? I don't know. I don't know if Toronto has that mix to make the playoffs. They're still kind of struggling ever since Kawhi left and all that. So, taking nothing away from them, the fact is the Bulls are 4-0 and they beat these teams. Knicks could have been 4-0 too had they done what they needed to do in Orlando. So we got to give credit to Chicago for doing what they needed to do when we couldn't. So the key matchups to look for. Kimbo Walker versus Lonzo Ball. That's going to be a tough one, guys. Believe me when I tell you, this is going to be rough. I don't know what the Knicks are going to do about, Kimba having to deal with Lonzo Ball. The height difference is crazy. Well, I hope that actually that's not what happens. Maybe they figure out a way that Kimba is able to guard, I don't know, maybe even the shooting guard and not have to deal with Lonzo, because that's going to be a problem. Lonzo's he might really go to school on Kimba. That height difference is just too much, man. But I hope that they figure out some way to kind of to make that work, because that's tough. That's tough. But maybe Kimba will, and this is good for Kimba too. That's why this game is very important, because Kimba's finally flexed his wings a little bit and got to show us the Kimba that we've been seeing. So if this was the game to kind of get him open so that he can get back to where we were used to seeing him, that might go big against Lonzo. They might trade back and forth. Who knows? Maybe Lonzo won't be able to stick with Kimba either. Definitely got to wait and see. Before I continue, I just want to give a quick shout out to the chat. Shout out to Scotty P, Geraldine McIver, CT, the streets are buzzing. Appreciate you, Jarvis. Thanks for coming on. Worldwide L, what's up, man? Thank you guys for all tuning in. I'm gonna get back to the comments in a little bit. Let me just finish where I'm at right now. And so the second matchup that you want to look out for is Mr. RJ Barrett versus Zach LaVine. Now this is the matchup. This one's going to be tough because we need RJ to play really good defense on Zach, but more importantly, we need to make Zach play defense on RJ. RJ's got to get involved in the game. He's got to get out there and do what, anything to try to create, some type of action where Zach LaVine doesn't just have to sit back and worry about, okay, where am I going to go on the court to get mine? No, we got to make him play defense. So RJ has got to step up. He's got to be aggressive, and he's got to kind of do what we saw him do last year. We played the Bulls pretty well last year, and we lost. I think we won one game, and they won the other. It was a close game actually, if I'm not mistaken. Unless they played 4 games. I don't remember. Sometimes NBA throws me off a little bit with these season series, but I definitely remember we lost a close game to them. Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and kind of went crazy on us. And at that point, RJ was guarding Zach, and I don't think RJ was the same type of defender he is now. I think he's much better and should have a really good shot at doing something against them. Evan Fournier versus DeMar DeRozan. This is interesting. They're not the same player, but they live in the same circles. You know what I mean? They're both jump shooters. Evan Fournier doesn't take as many 2-point jumpers as DeMar does. He can stretch the floor. Obviously, he's a better 3-point shooter. But, they just have similar styles that they're very, methodical in how they move across the court and find their shots. So this should be really interesting. I think DeMar might have the edge as far as strength, and he can definitely back down Evan if need be. Evan might have his hands full on the defensive end with him. But, we got to see what happens. If Evan can come out there and do what he's, been doing, and especially what he's done, like on a night like tonight, then he's going to give DeMar DeRozan some trouble as well. Because DeMar DeRozan is a solid defender, but he's not elite. He's not that great of a one-on-one defender. He's a pretty good help defender. When he first came into the league, he was a lot younger, very athletic, and more active. So I think he might have been a better defender. And now it's slowed down a little bit. So, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see. But those are kind of the keys that I think that, everybody should key in for when we get into the next matchup against the Bulls on Thursday. So let's just take a look at the chat real quick. Scotty P bounced a long time ago. He said he said what he had to say and let it be known. He said, pay Mitch. He did a superb job against Embiid. His presence was strong today. Solid team effort overall. SKF, let's go. Appreciate you, Scotty P. Salute. And then he's like, I'm out. I dropped the mic on him. I hear you, Scotty P. Geraldine, she's always, SKF or salute, Knicks Nation. Appreciate you. You are definitely a special one. We appreciate everything you bring to us. You're always supporting us. So thank you as always. And continue to be there. We look forward to seeing you. Great bounce back win tonight. Got to play like this every time they hit the court. Can't take any team for granted. That's a fact. That is a fact. You're right about that. I have been telling people that Kimba would have his time to shine. It's a long season, going to be a lot of ups and downs, one game at a time. Yep, exactly. That's how you got to look at it. You can't stress about it. You just got to keep playing the game and keep doing what they got to do. Still Knicks fans, long day to great win. See you on Thursday. Have a good night. Thank you, Geraldine. Appreciate you. Salute. Have a great night. Streets is buzzing. Salute. Great win, Ron. And I guess he's acknowledging Geraldine, saying what's up to her. Jarvis, salute to the chat. Ron, thank you, Jarvis. Salute to yourself, my friend. Appreciate you. Worldwide L, salute. Jarvis, the streets are buzzing. Salute to my guy, CT. Great bounce back win for the Knicks fam. Yes, sir. Worldwide L is in the building. Salute my brother. Yeah. And then Jarvis said, I feel you, Ron. Need to make Zach LaVine work on both sides of the ball. Exactly. We definitely got to get him out there working because, I think the Knicks, the fact that we now have a offensive-minded team. Wow, when's the last time we said the Knicks were an offensive-minded team? Not since, I guess, the D'Antoni days, right? But in those days, we were offensive-minded. We couldn't play defense. Now we've got a combination of both. So that's great. That's great. And I know that, listen, if RJ doesn't make this guy work, and Zach LaVine always gets his. Now, hold on. Let me say this real quick. If somehow RJ is able to kind of slow Zach LaVine down and kind of put the clamps on him, then don't worry about what I'm saying on the offensive end. Forget it. But if Zach's getting his buckets like he normally gets them, RJ is not, doing anything on the offensive end, then you might have to, you know, look at someone else. Maybe Burks, if he can do something a little better. Because Burks is going to make, um, somebody on that court work. We know that. Sometimes the shot's not on, but offensively, he knows how to get it. So we do know that he'll do something. I hope that's not the case, and I hope RJ's the guy for the job. So we'll see. Big task at the end. What's good? What's good? Salute. Thank you for joining. He said Mitch turned Embiid into a 3-point specialist. Facts. Mitch was definitely trying to go out there and show that he could play good defense against one of the better centers in the league. His numbers weren't crazy, as far as overall numbers. I think Mitch finished with 7 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist. He had 1 steal, and he had no blocks, which I just find that, that might be one of the tougher things I've still yet to kind of wrap my head around. And, who's to say that that's the barometer for a good defensive player, a big man? But I feel like you gotta, if you're 7'1" and you're athletic and you're trying to be a defensive presence, I feel like you gotta block 1 or 2 shots a game. Am I wrong in that? I think that's kind of like a given. I think that's one of the things that you should be doing. I could be wrong. I mean, it's pronounced at hand. Thank you. Big task at hand. Why did I look at that? See what happens? You look at something real quick, you didn't notice it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Big task at hand. All right. Okay, I see you. Appreciate that. Yeah, like I think that, if I'm looking at how things are, I'm thinking like you go out there and you want to be, in the running for defensive player of the year. You want to be first team all defense. I think you got to do things like getting at least 1 or 2 blocks a game. I mean, 1, I don't even know if that's good enough. I think you got to get like 2 blocks a game, because it's not just about. No one's saying you got to go out there and get 5 blocks. You don't need 5, 6 blocks to show you're a good defender. But if you get 2 blocks, that means that you're affecting certain people's shots. That means the rest of the defense knows, okay, he's definitely getting blocks. If I come into the paint and he's around me, I got to watch myself. You've already done it. But if you're just out there moving around and you don't block any shots, guys are still going to test you. I mean, if I was a player in the NBA and I saw a guy, a big man, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, I got to be careful around. But if I don't see him blocking nobody's shots, I'm going to go right at him. That's just me. I mean, listen, that's how I think. Maybe I'm old school when it comes to that, And the other thing about Mitch is, his game has changed a little bit. If you guys haven't noticed, it's not all about catching lobs anymore, and I think that's for his safety. I think there might be a point where you might see one of the guards or somebody on the floor throw him an alley-oop, but I think it's very rare, not compared to how it was before, where they were just launching it to him and he was just catching it. 2 hands, 1 hand behind his back, like all types of stuff. I don't think you're going to see that, because those are the type of plays that can definitely get Mitch hurt, going up and coming down awkwardly. And he's very awkward to begin with. You don't need him going up trying to catch a wild alley-oop for some type of highlight play. He comes down wrong, we lose him for another 2-3 months. Maybe he's out for the season. Who knows? So I think that it's pretty smart that they've decided to kind of take it easy with all that right now, and kind of just let the game flow. If he gets an opportunity down low, they'll pass it to him. He can go up and catch a dunk. Today he caught a Sprite. It was pretty funny. I think it was Derrick Rose who got him the ball, or Burks. One of them did a little wraparound, gave him the ball. He went up, tried to dunk it on Embiid, but he caught the front of the rim hard and he fell on his back. So, that might be tired legs. It was later in the game. That's what you hope, because you don't want to think that Mitch doesn't have the same bounce. I'm not going to say that. So I just think it was more of a tired legs thing. Yeah, but I think that we still got a ways to go before this team gets to the point where everything's clicking on all cylinders. We're not there yet. There's still some time for them to work out the kinks. We don't know who the real Julius is yet. You know what I mean? We still trying to see what's going on with that. So we just got to give it some time and see how everything shakes out. Jarvis said, also continue to move the ball against Chicago, plus hit our free throws, attack the basket, play the pick and roll against Chicago, attacking the paint, and play with intensity. That's Knicks basketball. Yeah, this is Knicks basketball. I agree. Listen, if they go out there and do all of those things, they have a great chance of winning. And I don't see why they can't, because they did it fairly easily tonight. It wasn't a big problem for them to get everything going. They went out there and they executed the right way, and that's the reason why we're able to be happy Knicks fans this evening and not have to worry about another letdown game against Philadelphia. Now, that being said, on our show yesterday, we have our point in the show where we do our weekly predictions, of what we think the outcomes are gonna be for the games this week. And I said that the Knicks were gonna beat Philadelphia, but I did say that the Knicks might lose to the Bulls. Don't kill me. I hope that's not the case. I want them to win. I'm just concerned that right now the Bulls may be playing better as a team than we are, yet, because we're still kind of finding our way, and Julius is still learning how to trust everybody on the team. And I think the Bulls, I think Lonzo is really helping them a lot with the way their offense is flowing. And I don't know if we're getting that same type of, floor general that they have in Lonzo with Kimba, or even with Rose. I mean, I showed you Rose's. I talked about Rose's stats. I mean, I think he had 3 assists, and Kimba had 5, which is good. But when Lonzo's out there on the court, he's special with his court vision, and he puts you in spots, right? And I think it's one thing to pass the ball to somebody who's open for a shot. It's another thing to get that guy open with the way you pass the ball or the way you create. And Lonzo's really good at that. So that type of stuff makes me worry a little bit, and I'm hoping that that's not the case, that we'll be okay and we can control him. But I am worried about that. So I hope they figure out a way to kind of, deal with that. Big task at hand. Yes, ball movement is paramount. I hate when Randle is in those ISO sets. Yeah, you and me both. I don't think that's a good way to play basketball. Even though I loved Melo as a player, I didn't like when he did it either. Like at first, when I was a young fan watching him, I didn't really think too much about the game. I was like, oh yeah, he's just getting buckets. It can't be stopped. But as you get older and you realize more about the game and how it should be played and what would be better for the whole team, you realize it's not the way to do it. There's much better ways to go about getting your buckets, because they're always going to be there. As a matter of fact, guys like that, when you're consistent, you get double teamed. So you're getting your whole teammates are always wide open for easy shots. So I think that's what Julius has to kind of work towards getting comfortable at doing on a consistent basis. He's not there yet, but it's still early season. It's just game 4. Yeah, but I mean that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to jump on get a little post game going, kind of talk about what I saw. I know it's kind of late East Coast time. It's 11:17, so hopefully the next time around we can get on here a little sooner. I had to get some stuff taken care of before I jumped on, so I jumped on a little later than I would have liked. But Thursday night we'll try to get on a little earlier, and hopefully it's after a nice victory. Andre Jackson said, "Nice hat." Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Yeah. Hopefully we get a victory against the Chicago Bulls, and I'm wrong because I want to be proven wrong. I said the Knicks was going to go 8-2 in these first 10 games, so a victory over Chicago would definitely help me with regards to that prediction. So go Knicks, right? All right, everybody. Y'all have a great night. I will see you on the next one. And like I said, hopefully the Knicks come out and they do everything that we all talked about tonight and more to kind of secure the victory and shut up them Chicago Bulls fans. Because, who knows, man, might even have a special appearance by a Chicago Bull fan on Thursday night's post game. We'll see how it shakes out. I hope he don't come on, because that means that he said I'm only coming on if we beat the Knicks. So we'll see. All right, man. Later, Mr. Andre Jackson. Salute, brother L Train. Take it easy, man. All right, everybody. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great night.